Take a raw carrot and a cooked carrot and stick them both in the ground and wait and see what happens. So everybody, hello everyone. Today we're going to answer another question which we probably should have answered at the very beginning when we started doing this, because somebody recently posted a question about why we don't eat cooked fruit. Really, the question is why we don't eat cooked food. And that's what we're going to answer today, why we don't eat cooked food.
Yes. As usual, please start.
Okay, there are numerous reasons. And one that stands out in my mind is the fact that the kitchen is like a chemical laboratory. When you put food under extreme heat, you're basically altering the chemical structure of the food. On this planet, there's millions of different species. And if you're just looking at vertebrates, there's about 60,000 different estimated vertebrate species on the planet. And every single one of those species, except for humans, eats their food the way it's offered by nature. So it makes common sense for us to be doing the same thing. It's weird to be thinking that we're a species which is so unique that we have to be cooking our food before we eat it. We're subjecting our food to third-degree burns before we eat it. Now, there's something that rings really wrong in my head about doing this. It just doesn't seem right to be doing them. And as I said, you're changing the chemical structure of the food. So it's no longer something which your body fully recognizes when you consume it. Because we are connected with everything. And when we eat food the way it's supposed to be eaten, raw, the way it's offered by nature, the body recognizes it and it knows how to digest it, and it does so smoothly and without difficulty. When you have subjected it to heat, especially very quick heat, because the faster you cook something, the worse it is. So if you put something in a microwave, that's about the worst you can do as far as cooked food. Deep fried is terrible. Deep fried is terrible. That's got the oil in it too. That may be worse. You're going to cook something if you're doing it slowly or steaming it. Obviously, these are better ways of doing it than microwaving something or deep frying something. But nevertheless, you are still altering the chemical structure. You're using the kitchen as a chemical laboratory where you're unintentionally creating new chemicals within the food that weren't there before. Because that's what happens when you subject food to heat. You're conjuring up chemicals that were not in the food before. So the nutrition is changing its chemical structure, becoming completely different kind of food.
Yes. Since I was a little kid, I could see things differently than other people. I always loved the food, and I always loved the food. My mom used to make jams. I used to hate them. I never ate jam because they were heaps of sugar, almost 50-50, 1 kilo fruit, 1 kilo sugar, if not that, very close, because my father was sugar addict. My mother had to do everything very sweet. I can't even explain the feeling for me. I was appalled. I could not believe how those people can destroy such a beautiful food, cooking it for half a day in a slow heat with a lot of sugar on the stove. And she was doing the compote. She was pickling and doing everything like this, killing everything, fresh produce from our garden. And I could see it because when I ate food, for me, the most tasty was raw fruit. And when they cook it, I didn't show interest anymore. True is, in winter time, I would eat compote strawberries because it was very nice. That only thing I like. And gooseberries also. But I would eat it only when I was really desperate for food during the winter. There was not enough fresh fruit. We always had apples and varieties of them. Sometimes I felt like something else. Anyhow, when you cook food, you kill it. My friend actually told me she read some book about the juicy, and already mentioned that in one of the videos. And she said that she believes the guy wrote it because he wanna sell the juices. But I embrace the idea because she told me too, if you eat everything raw, you keep the nutrition. It's as it should be really in its natural state. Once you cook it, it's dead. You know, the apple is alive. Once you cook it, it's dead. And so it's everything. If I put myself in hot boiling water or in a deep fryer, I would die. I'm also a living creature. I also have a life in me. And a lot of people not aware. They not question life and death. It's not only I'm born and I'm going to die one day. It's also the things in the nature, whatever it is. And everything is forever evolving and changing. Nothing stays the same. So is the apple, for example. Again, if I pick the apple, I usually don't eat it right away because fruit is alive and it keeps the life force inside and it's still working on its process, getting more sweet, more ready to eat. Even if you pick it from the tree, of course, if I'm desperate, I used to ask it always eat fruit straight from the tree. Some fruit is good, like plums or cherries or so on, but stuff like pears or apples, they can still get better with the time. I'm apple expert because you always have a lot of different apples from different gardens. And my grandma, we always had the apples on the top of the road to me. And I felt like it, I would go and grab the apple and it was always so yummy. And I just could not get it. How come they cook it? I felt fine. I felt what a vice, what a shame. And it's difficult to explain to other people things that for you it's obvious. You look at it and you know what it is. And then if you want to share it with others, sort of people, they just can't get it. And it's interesting for me to see this. In a way, it others who sometimes very like that some people can see things right away. When I was told that though food is better for you than cook, it made sense to me straight away. I would not even question it. Maybe because I used to eat mainly if I could. I wasn't fresh at as food would get. I would eat mainly raw everything anyway because I always believed daisies, raw carrot, cooked carrot, raw cherries, cooked cherries. And some people, I believe, it is sugar addicts because even it's sweet is cooked with sugar and they love it. They just prefer to have a jam than banana, for example, fresh green.
I'm recalling a little story. Back at the beginning of the 1990s, I wasn't yet into raw food. I come across the idea a couple of times, but it hadn't really clicked with me at all. And I remember I was on an island in Denmark and I was on a farm. An old Danish farmer was only eating raw food, and I asked him why he did that. Because, as I said, I hadn't given it much thought, but I was curious. I wanted to know more. And he didn't say much. He was a man of few words. He replied by saying, take a raw carrot and a cooked carrot and stick them both in the ground and wait and see what happens. And really, that was the first proper seed that was planted for me to make me think, well, he's onto something here. Just as Katushka said, you're killing whatever it is that you're cooking, whatever it is that you're subjecting to extreme heat, you're killing. And she mentioned about the apple being alive. It's not that the apple is alive, but it's a living food. It's not alive like a mouse or carrot because it's the seed inside which is alive. But the fruit is a living food. It's got all the enzymes, it's packed with all the nutrition that your body needs. And once you subject it to heat it, it doesn't have to be an apple, it can be anything. You're changing it, you're destroying enzymes within the food, which are necessary in order to be able to digest the food properly. So digestion is slowed down. A lot of people think otherwise. Now, the truth is that when we cook food, it enables us to eat foods which we normally would never, ever eat. And it's possible that there's been times of hardship, maybe at Ice Age, where there's been a food shortage. And by necessity, because we're creatures of invention, we think about things, we think outside the box, and we create things that normally wouldn't be there. And it's enabled us to survive possibly in times when there's been hardship and there hasn't been enough abundance. But we want to create an abundance in this world, and we're not living in those hard times anymore. And if we're eating something which can only be eaten when it's cooked, we really shouldn't be eating it at all. There's no question in my mind about this. The fact that we can eat something when it's cooked, like a mushroom, there are some mushrooms which are very poisonous if you eat them raw.
Or not easy to digest.
Or not easy to digest, but if you cook them, you can eat them. But really, you shouldn't be eating them either way. You shouldn't be eating them cooked and you shouldn't be eating them raw because the body doesn't want them. Somehow or another, the cooking process enables you to digest things that you shouldn't be digesting. And the other thing with cooking food, because it's making it unnatural, it's no longer a real food, it's an unnatural food, and it's addictive. It's addictive. And this is something that's very common to unnatural substances and isn't common to natural substances. Things that are natural aren't really addictive. If we're not changing them in some way, they're not addictive. But things that are unnatural, there's this addiction that comes with it. So when we eat cooked food, we get addicted. We crave that stodge. Whatever it is that's in the cooked food, we crave that. And here's the thing, addiction is never, ever good for you. Whatever it is that you're addicted to is not something that you need or that your body benefits from having.
It plays with your mind and also it controls you. Addiction controls you. And you don't have your own power. You're giving power to the addiction, which is what we don't want. We want to have our own power to decide what we want, not out of addiction. And you have to understand the addiction is our enemy and don't embrace it as normal day. And okay, what can happen to me? I have once in a while something could can happen to you, something you may not notice right away, but it's definitely never good for you. I experience it and I tell you, it's just not meant as food for humans. Many people disable as that.
It's toxic. Basically, it's toxic, and it always, because it doesn't digest as easily as raw food, and because of the addictive nature of it, we tend to overeat things when they're cooked because there's no instinctive stop, which I've talked about in a previous video. Because of that, the body is not able to fully digest it, and it always leaves behind residues, which get stored all over the body. And this is why people put on weight, because it's not natural to be overweight. And yet, if you look around in society, it's become so normal for people to be overweight that people actually assume it is normal. I'm using the word normally in the sense that it's usual, but it's really not normal, it's abnormal. Everybody should be slim, and cooked food is what's making people overweight.
And sick.
And sick, yeah. But over time, because sickness isn't something which just happens overnight. Well, it can do if you're taking something extremely rotten and you get food poisoning. But mostly sickness is something which occurs over years or decades because people eat things they shouldn't eat, and they do so consistently. They do so over years since they were born, basically. Cooked food is probably the very, very first addictive substance which every single human on the planet gets addicted to. It even comes in through the mother's milk when the baby's born.
already when mother carries you and what she eats goes eating.
That's right. And then once you start eating, you're generally eating cooked food because that's what people give you to eat straight away. You might be lucky and get some fruit there, but sooner or later you're going to get fed bread or rice. You're going to get fed grains, cereal, animal flesh, secretions, all kinds of things, which are all cooked these days. Everything's cooked.
Yeah.
And all that stuff is not going to do you any good. And you can, when you're young and vibrant and full of energy, you can fight that. Your body can handle it, but it doesn't do you any good. And over time, your body can't keep fighting it. Eventually, your body's going to slow down. It's not going to be able to process it. It's not going to be able to handle it. That's just a fact of the way it is. Cooked food is going to make you sick. And in the end, it's going to give you cancer. And I know you might think that's very bold of me to say that, but I think that everybody is going to end up with cancer in the end if they keep doing it. The only reason they won't get it is because they'll die before it's diagnosed. But eventually it will happen. Even the common cold that people get every year, that we don't get colds, but people get colds generally once or twice a year, even more some people. And that is because they are eating the wrong foods. They're eating cooked foods.
And they think it's normal to
And they
have
think it's
pickles and what have you. It's just that time of the year, or it's just around. Everybody have it. I got it too. You know why the system exists. It's all made up for us to have the vaccinations. We don't live in a friendly world. We're not yet there that we want to be. We have a lot of enemies around in the form of lies and deception. And it's not really easy to orientate in it. I really feel with people who are deep in it and they don't ever see even how raw food looks like, and stuff like this. So we have to understand and we have to really pull our finger and use our mind to question things.
question everything. Question everything. Because everything out there is, as Patricia has just said, there are so many lies. This world is rife with lies. And it's very difficult for most people to recognize what's the truth and what's a lie. But if you can bring everything back down to common sense, as I said earlier, we have 60,000 different vertebrate species on the planet. Every single one of them, bar one, is eating food that's offered by nature. If you can understand that, it should at least give you a aha moment where you start thinking for yourself, start questioning it, question why. Because the way it is at the moment, people think that sickness is random, basically, that you're just a victim of happenstance or some random little invisible imp comes along and violates you. You can't do anything to stop that. But that's not true. Health is yours if you understand what the right food is, what our species-specific diet is. And we've mentioned this before. Every single species out there has a species-specific diet. And we as humans are no exception. We have food which is ideal for us. And that food is fruit.
Yes. Also, I want to say, even when we conceived, we receive in our blood still the nutrition from our mother's blood. So whatever she eats, we eat it in a way. And I want to say, even the new baby born, we are born to eat sweet food. Mother's milk is sweet, and then food we see. Most of the food, even a cucumber, if you stop using salt, pepper, and all that, if you have a really nice cucumber, you feel it. It's always what makes it the nicest. It's the sweetness. The higher sweetness in it, it tastes better. And when I was young, I used to visit my friends and they had a baby. And one of my friends, she was blending for her baby, like 6 months full, cooked meat, cooked vegetables, and she put sugar in it. And to me, it was like, what? And she put heaps of sugar in it. And I said to her, I asked, why are you putting sugar in it for? And she said she wouldn't eat it otherwise. If I don't put sugar in it, I would not get it into her. And that really stuck with me, you know. in those days, I ate everything. I ate differently than other people, but still I cooked things and so on. This, for me, it was insane. So they fool you. You had the baby, they have to fool you to make you eat things. They think, or even believe, they're good for you. You have to eat meat, you have to have your vegetables, you have to have your grains, you have to have your legumes, you have to have everything that is balanced diet. It's all rubbish, and this is the problem. We are not given what we naturally born to have. The sweet food, which is raw and which is fruit, because the parents, they influence so heavily. And all they know is their mother cooked and their grandparents cooked. So we cooking too. This is the problem because it drags on for centuries. So it seems like normal. So I watch kids eating, many kids, many times. All kids enjoy most. They show most joy and enthusiasm to eat it when they eaten raw, fresh, food.
Especially up until a certain age, because there does come a time where they're just pretty addicted to the same substances that the adults are. But up until a certain age, 5 or 6 years old, they're going to prefer fruits.
Yes.
And you can see when you're feeding a baby for the first time, when you're trying to push food into a baby that isn't natural, the natural reaction of the baby will be, oh, no. It will pull and make faces. And this is normal with anything that we get. Like the first time that anybody has a go at smoking a cigarette, they're going to start copying and they're not going to like it. The first time you drink beer, if you've never had it before, it doesn't taste nice. It's not got a nice taste. You have to push through that initial discomfort of it, first of all. And that's forced on you as a kid. Here, eat this. This is all you're getting. Eat this, eat this.
Yeah, or like whiskey in communism was very expensive and it was we had to get that once I was in some bar and some rich guy bought me a glass of whiskey and I had a sip on it and I just said, "Fui," like, yeah, that's disgusting. And I pushed it away and he looked at me like I'm some lunatic and he left me, which was good for me. But anyway, then a few years later, I have a friend, he came back from the holiday in Bulgaria. He came to my birthday, he brought a bottle of whiskey as a present for me. I look at it and I said, "You can have that tastes like rubbish." And we was business person going for company working, making agreements overseas. Whiskey was this rich man drink. There was one good big thing in his life. And I told him, "Keep that rubbish for yourself." And that's why people have to put for little kids sugar in the food which should be naturally sweet so they will eat it. And I know most of babies are being pushed into eating stuff until they get addicted to it and they open their mouths for it. So it's not as simple as we think.
Just remember, raw is authentic, it's real. Cooked is fake, it's artificial, it's dyed or dead already. It's just not natural anymore. Even though people consider it natural, it's definitely not. Okay. I think we've answered your question for today. So until next week, bye.
We love you and thank you for all your beautiful comments. New subscribers, he really enjoyed to read the comments. We are so happy there are people finding us who appreciate what we have to say. And just don't forget about love cultivate love in your heart. Just try to be the best person you want to be and you care. Until next time.